Hello and welcome to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. It is a hot day again, so the fan is on once more. It means to be a little bit of fan noise. Not much I can do about it. But yeah, today we are continuing the Marvel Nemesis stuff. I think we're about halfway through at this point. And today we are drawing Venom. Venom. Okay, so as is custom, I have already done our base sketch, and with Venom, to be honest, this has probably done 90% of the work by doing a base sketch already. However, we do, I think, need to bulk him up a little more. I think he's a little too thin right now. He needs to be a little wider on the shoulders, because he's got some kind of weird proportions. Again, I mean, Venom just by nature is a very oddly proportioned character, so there's not much I can really do about that. But yeah, let's start. I'm not quite sure why Venom's eyes look so weird in this game, because they don't look like they normally do. They've got all these crazy little lines coming off of them and everything. And yeah, this is something which I've kind of touched on a little bit in the last few of these videos, but for whatever reason, just the art for this game looked really weird, and I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm not quite sure what quality of it that makes it look so weird to me. Of where it's like got all these like tiny little wrinkle lines coming off of everything. I think this is just something that is a part of just Jay Lee's art style, but specifically on Venom's art here, there's so many like little wrinkle lines, and it just makes him look weird and kind of like wrinkly. I don't know, it's kind of just weird looking. Bit of an odd choice, I think. But yeah, and Venom's eyes are maybe a little too over designed, I think, here, of where there's perhaps a little bit much going on with them. Because I don't think Venom's eyes should have that much, or this much going on with them. I feel like Venom's eyes shouldn't, well, they don't necessarily need to be simple, but I feel like they shouldn't be too dissimilar to Spider-Man's eyes. And here they're quite different. So, yeah, I don't know. Venom's one of those designs in this game which is pretty simple, oddly enough. He's one of the designs that is kind of the most normal, because I mean there's only so much you can really do whenever you're fiddling with Venom's design, because I mean he's always going to look a little bit like Venom no matter what you do, really. There's only so much you can really change it before he just stops looking like Venom. Because this is the thing, I think, yeah, I'm almost certain I talked about this last time, but there's only so many features whenever you're doing a design which you can really remove. And the more features that a character has that you can't remove, the more that they're just always going to look like that character. This is the thing with like Spider-Man. You can't really take away many of Spider-Man's yeah, you can't really take away many of Spider-Man's design elements before he stops looking like Spider-Man. And it's the same thing with Venom, really, is that Venom has fewer elements like that than Spider-Man does. So it's a case of where with Venom, it's a case of where there's, yeah, he's always gonna kind of look like Venom no matter what you do. You can't really change him that much without him just looking like a different character. Now, I'm not crazy on the super long tongue Venom. I feel like it's maybe a little much. Because in Venom's like early appearances he didn't have the big giant like horrible monster tongue, but I feel like that's just kind of become something that is synonymous with Venom now, is the big tongue, which again I'm not all that into, really. It seems like maybe a bit much to me. However, I mean, a lot of Venom's design is maybe a little much, so realistically I don't really see it as being that much of a real departure, I guess. But for whatever reason, Venom's tongue is real long in Marvel Nemesis. it's like, yeah, it's like a bloody snake tongue or something. It goes a real distance outside of his mouth. Just deciding here now to make the inside of Venom's mouth black because it'll make things a little easier to see, and it'll also, whenever I'm adding in the dots, it won't look quite as confusing if this just is black. It'll make it a lot easier to kind of to read, for lack of a better word. So I feel like more than any other character, Venom in particular should be very top heavy, because that's always at least how I see him being portrayed, as being very kind of all upper body, kind of even kind of going for a bit of thin legs if necessary, to kind of emphasize that a little bit more, just how kind of bulky and wide he is on top. But yeah, I'm gonna need to extend his chest as well. I'm gonna need to just bring these arms out a little bit, I think, because it'll just, see, I'm having to do a little bit more work here now because I didn't do the initial pose quite as well as I should have, because yeah, I mean his arms are already pretty big here, so I don't want them to be gigantic. I just need to bring them out a bit more. So I'll have to basically, yeah, pull it, make his chest wider and then make his arms a little thinner to kind of accommodate for it. You know, I always thought that Venom had normal hands, but I guess maybe not. I guess maybe he's got 3 fingers, or 4 fingers I should say. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, again, I always did think that he had normal hands, but I suppose maybe I'm wrong here, because I've never seen that in a design for Venom before, as him having 4 fingers. Then again, it's something that I've never really paid attention to in a design for Venom. Maybe you're wondering why exactly I chose to pose Venom like this, and well, the thing is, Venom has some similar poses to this in the game. He's posed very strangely in the game itself, of where, like, he's got a lot of these like weird, like crooked, slanted poses like this, of where he's just kind of stood there but at like an awkward angle. So that's the kind of thing which I've, I suppose, adapted here. Is yeah, his kind of strange posing. Because again, I feel like the Marvel Nemesis has a very kind of creepy aesthetic, which I don't think fits it. I don't think it fits a story about superheroes fighting aliens. Is this kind of weird, creepy, edgy aesthetic. But I don't even think Venom should be shown off as creepy. I don't think Venom's supposed to be scary. Venom's supposed to be intimidating. It's not necessarily scary, not like a monster, but intimidating, which is, yeah, a very different thing to me. Again, I've kind of mentioned a little bit about Venom's proportions earlier on, but I feel like, yeah, Venom should definitely be a character that is kind of proportionally weird by design almost, because, yeah, it's a case of where Venom kind of should seem like impossibly giant, or impossibly kind of muscular, in a sense of where it's very much all upper body, and then the rest is just kind of basically like nowhere. Even though he is supposed to be very athletic, that's just kind of how I feel like Venom should look, is that it's kind of all in the upper body, and then the rest is just quite kind of lean, I suppose. Like, his legs wouldn't necessarily be thin, but they wouldn't be quite as big as the rest of them. The way that this symbol has been drawn here is very odd as well. Again, everything about Venom's design here is very odd. I'm doing a lot of work here to try and make it look a little less weird to me, because it looks very weird right now. Venom symbol looks very weird in this game. I've made a bit of a mistake because the little legs that are coming off of it are a little too separated. They should be a lot closer together, but at this point it'd be worse to try and change it. I think it looks okay anyways. I think it looks good enough. But yeah, I didn't really finish what I was saying about Venom's proportions there a little while ago. I kind of feel like Venom proportionally should almost feel like he's been designed by Bruce Timm, like he's all upper body and then the rest is quite thin, and it kind of conforms to like an upside down triangle shape where the top is very broad and then it comes in quite a bit at the bottom. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here, is to have him be a little bit more angular in that sense. And yeah, whether or not it'll work is another thing entirely. Yep, now we're on to Venom's feet, which in this game in particular look real weird. Again, I never would have thought, these are things I don't really pay much attention to apparently, but I never would have thought that Venom would have had these like weird claw feet, because they look kind of strange. I think part of the design philosophy for Venom in this game was they wanted to try and make him look a little bit more alien, I think that was definitely it, because he certainly looks that kind of way of where he's a lot more kind of freaky looking, and yeah, they wanted him to look a little bit more creepy. He still looks like Venom for the most part, but they definitely wanted him to look a little bit creepier, I think, of where, yeah, like stuff like his feet are like clawed and his hands are claws and all this stuff, and he's got much more of like a kind of a movie monster kind of look in that sense, of where he's big tongue and all this, and the tongue is way longer than it normally is, and just yeah. But yeah, I think they definitely were trying to go for the creepy factor on Venom with this, which yeah, as I said, I don't really care much for that. I feel like Venom shouldn't necessarily look creepy, he shouldn't necessarily look so much like a monster, he should look like Venom. Like, I don't know, again, I'm not crazy on the big tongue. I feel like the teeth is enough, and the teeth itself is maybe a little too much. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like I've never been huge on Venom. I feel like Venom is very kind of 90s. And yeah, never been crazy about Venom. I've never really kind of been in on the whole kind of craze over Venom, because Venom is one of those characters which just for whatever reason everybody loves, and I'm not quite sure why, because I've never really felt quite that much about Venom. I always thought Venom was more interesting as a villain than an anti-hero, or not even necessarily as a villain, but just as a kind of counterpoint to Spider-Man, in that sense of where he's a rival character more so than he is a direct villain. I feel like he's definitely supposed to be not necessarily pure evil, because I feel like his point of view is supposed to be, in a sense, understandable. He hates Spider-Man, and that's what drives him to do bad stuff. but it's a case of where, yeah, I don't know. I've never been crazy on Venom. I always thought Spider-Man had much more interesting villains than just Venom. And a lot of people just didn't really seem to care much for the other villains. A lot of people seem to just want to see more Venom, which, again, I've never really been all that there for. Right, so there are our details on Venom. Yeah, I didn't really have to do a huge amount over the base sketch, because again, I do kind of do a lot of the work already in the base sketch, particularly with these ones, because I do want these to be shorter, but so far they definitely haven't been. This one could very well be a little shorter though, because there's very little I have to add with Venom, and I even think these dots are probably going to be reasonably short. Again, I'm kind of preparing to jinx myself here by saying all this stuff, because now that I've said it, this will take all day. That's done. Now it is color time. And again, there's like 3 colors going on here, so again, I feel like Venom's probably going to be one of our quicker ones. All things considered. I'm debating grabbing and putting in my background now. No, I'll do that now actually. Alright, now here's going to be a tricky bit, doing our white. So our white we're going to have as a pretty close to actually white color. I'm going to make it ever so slightly blue, even more close to white. Hell, I could even stand to make that a little closer to white. Something there. Where it's basically white. Now, a weird thing that I'm after seeing in the design here is that the white of his eyes and the white of his symbol are 2 different colors. They're different. So his eyes are white, and his body, or the design in his body, is more of like a blue color. It's like a pale blue, which is weird. But I'm not going to do that, because I'm pretty sure in game it is just white, or yeah, it's just white, the same white everywhere. So I'm just going to do it that way, because there are weird things in the art for this game that are just not in the game, and are just odd decisions, like how weird and wrinkly Venom is, for one. You know, I've mentioned this in the past, but coloring with white is something that I don't really enjoy doing. I try to avoid it as much as possible. And the reason for that is because it's always very, very obvious whenever you've gone over the lines a little bit with white, or with anything which is close to white like this is. It's a case of where even this little tick there, which you can probably see, this little bit here, that I've gone over, is very, very visible, which is something that I'm not a fan of. And particularly whenever I have more jagged, kind of unruly lines like this, it always looks kind of strange to be colouring stuff like this in with white, because of just how easy it is to go over the lines, and how whenever you have these kind of very jagged lines that you're trying to work with, it can look kind of odd with the white, and just not too great all in all. but I'm doing my best. Doing my best to make it work. Alright, so there's our white in. Now, gonna put our black in, and what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna make it a dark blue, because we're gonna want our purple to still come out over it. So let's see. We're gonna want a dark blue. So we've already got kind of dark blues here. Now, should this be lighter or darker than our purple? Our purple's probably going to be somewhere around here, I would reckon. So, I think this is honestly dark enough, but I'll make it a little darker. So, now we'll get into the black. I'll make my brush a little bigger as well, based on the amount of this that we'll have to do. It'd probably just be more convenient to just do more of, it'd probably just be more convenient to make the brush bigger, so I don't have to go over the same areas quite as much. I have a quick adjustment to make on Venom's face, which I'm after seeing here now, and it is this. He needs to have lips, basically, because it's a case of where this kind of will look weird if he doesn't. If you ever saw the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, which oddly enough, now that I think of it, was Venom's first appearance outside of, it was his first appearance outside of a comic, as I understand it. So in that they gave him these kind of very pink lips. I think it would have been the same color as his tongue, probably, like this is, but all I'm really doing here is just to show the separation, because if I don't, then it'll look kind of weird of where it's all the black on his face and it's just the tongue coming out. It'll look kind of strange to me, I think. But right now we'll get back to doing the black. Okay, that's our black done. And now, yeah, that's our very few colors done for Venom, because naturally Venom doesn't have exactly a major color variety. But, so, next on the agenda is to do the lighting. So, we're going to need to be very careful and make sure we get a purple that is darker than our blue. Darker and more vibrant. But yeah, to be honest, I don't feel like I have much to say about this design, really, because I mean, it's more or less just Venom, really. There's not much you can really say about it other than, well, it's Venom. At least he looks like Venom. His voice in the game is weird as hell, though. He's got like a weird, like, kind of voice. Like a very kind of nasally, high-pitched voice, which I don't think suits Venom very much at all. I feel like Venom should sound kind of deep and sinister and intimidating, rather than him being like a creepy monster. Again, this kind of goes back to what I was saying, like design-wise. I don't really like the idea of Venom as a big creepy monster. I feel like Venom should be a kind of a sinister supervillain, because that's what he's supposed to be. He's not supposed to be a monster, I think, at least. I feel like Venom shouldn't be a monster. He should be more of, yeah, a supervillain, like he's supposed to be. here, while I'm at it, I may as well say this. Give you another one of my minor Venom hot takes, and that is, I don't think Venom should be slippery or shiny. I feel like Venom should be okay, here's I think a good example of what I'm saying. I feel like maybe whenever Venom is doing like the symbiote tendril stuff, maybe then it should look kind of gooey, because then the goo is kind of happening. But whenever Venom is just like in the suit, I don't think he should always look gooey and slippery. I feel like it should just look like a costume, because that's what it looks like whenever Spider-Man has it. It looks like a costume whenever Spider-Man's in it. So I feel like that's just how it should look with Venom, except he's got a mouth on it. I don't feel like it should look slippery and gooey all the time. Again, the issue is, I mean, it's supposed to be an alien suit, so it's kind of material, I feel like, is kind of hard to nail down, but I certainly don't think it should be shiny. I don't think it should be shiny or slippery, unless, of course, it's in goo mode. I feel like whenever it's not in that kind of a state, it shouldn't necessarily look gooey. You know, you might wonder why I save so meticulously, and the reason for it is that Photoshop, or any Adobe software, or just most software in general really, is flaky as hell. So sometimes it'll just crash, and you'll lose hours of work sometimes. But yeah, I find that Adobe software in particular is not great for that. Adobe software has a habit of being real flaky. So this is the thing. I just save very meticulously, and that's the only real way around it. Anytime I do anything really, I do a quick save, quick little save. Sometimes even if you do save and it crashes, it'll cost you some time, which is always nice whenever it doesn't save properly. But yeah, I'm not quite sure why that stuff happens. Now, onto our lights. The lights here, as I said earlier on, I'm not going to be making Venom look shiny, so this should be reasonably quick. I'll just be kind of following the general outlines here, and then that will be us, more or less. And this has been a very quick one, only an hour and a half and I'm nearly done. Because I mean, this seems to be the thing. With this, weren't many colours to do, so weren't many colours, pretty simple in terms of just kind of following along the lines of what I'd done already with the base sketch. Aside from making him a little bigger, that was about it. That was about all the work I really needed to do for Venom. But I suppose Venom is easy enough to draw. At least, unlike Spider-Man, he does not have the web pattern all over him, so he's a little quicker to draw in that sense. Alright, so we've gotten all of our excuse me, we have gotten all of our lighting done, more or less. Excuse me again. And now, what else have we got to do? We have got to sign up. Do that very quickly. Then I'll do a light line, and then we'll do our gradient maps, and that'll be it. Which again, very quick, very quick this one. Yeah, didn't take as long as I was kind of expecting it to. Because I feel like Venom is one of those characters who can take either 5 minutes or 5 hours to draw. And that's simply because of yeah, just how many things there are that you have to draw in with him. Like, I feel like, yeah, stuff like the tongue can be tricky to figure out, but again, since I'd already done a lot of the detail work in the base sketch, kind of helps me out there, where didn't have to figure out stuff like the tongue on the fly, which, yeah, helped me out that, and yeah, like, let's do this. But yeah, thankful in a sense that this one's been quick, because at least this video will be short, which that's a guarantee more or less, because all of the other ones have been about as long as the normal ones, which was not the intention. They've either been as long as the normal ones, or in some cases longer than some of the most recent ones, which, yeah, frustrating. Frustrating given how these were supposed to be quick and easy to do. Which, I mean, they have been more or less easy to do, not so much quick. Not so much quick. Okay, there's our light line. Now, what else is left? I've got to do the grading maps, and I think that's it then, isn't it? Yep, I believe so. So, I need to grab one of the grading maps from last time, grab this gradient map, drop it over here. Yep, this is the ugly one, throw on the texture as well. Yep, this is the ugly one. Does what you'd expect it to, really. Makes everything very green. So, what we want to happen here is I think we were gonna really want our blue to come across more black. So, what we can do, I believe, to make that happen is make our darkest color a kind of a purpley color. Do something like that. Make it quite a vivid purple, and then maybe make our lights the blue. Maybe that might be something to work on. Might work for us. In theory. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you know, I think that's good. I'm happy with that. Close this. And yeah, I think we are done. So, we didn't really go over much because this is a pretty short one, all things considered. But overall about 20 minutes to half an hour shorter than these normally get. But yeah, what did we cover? We talked about design naturally. We talked a lot about just kind of Venom in general. I talked a little bit about coloring with white and how that can be something that I just don't really like all that much. We talked a little bit about the gradient maps as per usual. But yeah, you know, I feel like the purple definitely works a little bit better here, and it'll also make him stand out from the other characters a little bit more, because a lot of the other characters have kind of very red type of color palettes, very red or very kind of yellow or gold kind of colors. I think Storm maybe had some blue with hers, but Venom looks a little bit more unique now that his is quite, yeah, purple. So that'll stand out a good bit, I believe. But yeah, I think we're done. I think that's it. So, if you like the video, do what you normally do. Subscribe if it suits your fancy. And yeah, that's it. Bye bye.